Come by. Yeah. That's the council. I'm just sure. I'm one of your.
How's everybody doing tonight? Everybody good? Glad to hear it. Colleagues, are we good to go? Anybody need a minute? We good? 7:02, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to welcome you back to City Council. Tonight's meeting is our in-person and virtual regular meeting scheduled for Monday, August 19th, 2024 at 7 p.m. As far as opening ceremonies, I'm going to do a divergent position from my normal meetings. I want to remind people we have not met in the past 6 weeks. There has been a lot that's happened in the community. I want to remind our guests here that citizens participation has two sections. The first section is for agenda items. The second section of citizens participation is for open-ended topics. I just want to make that clear. This is our regular meeting. I know a lot has happened in the community, but tonight is our regular business meeting. So thank you very much for joining us here as well. Madam Deputy Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Ashafi.
Here.
Councilwoman Martin.
Here.
Councilwoman Manica.
Here.
Council Pro Tem Robinson.
Frederick.
Council President Thomas.
Here, thank you very much. Members of City Council, you have had access to the agenda. I believe you have also heard from our department heads as far as making modifications for the agenda. At this time, I'll turn the floor over to you so that we can move on to item 3, that is the approval of the agenda.
Mr. President?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Director Clyburn had a couple requests. He asked that, 3 requests actually. He asked that item VIC, which is the sale of 309 Tuxedo, be moved to the next council workshop, and that 2 items be removed. Those being item VIB, which is the APUDI agreement, and item VIIA, which is the North and Woodward Community Coalition donation, that those 2 be removed.
Say that again. So we're talking about item 6A, the resolution to approve the Highland Park Housing Community Limited Dividend Housing Association?
No, that stays, but 6B would be removed.
6B.
6C would be removed, but placed on the agenda for the next workshop. And then 7A be removed.
Okay, City Council, you have heard from our legal advisor here.
6A and 6B alone?
6B and 6C.
Correct.
6B and 6B.
Ms. Manica has questions for.
No question. I was just gonna make that one.
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
Before that, just to clarify, 6B and C, and then 7A?
That's a recommendation.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
those 3 being removed with C being sent to the next workshop.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll work that out. Ms. Manica, you had your hand up in regards to a motion.
I move to approve the agenda with the removal in community development of 6B and C, and then in recreation, 7A.
We have a motion on the floor from Councilwoman Manica to approve tonight's agenda with the following amendments: the removal of items 6B and C, and also the removal of item 7A. Do we have support?
Support with questions.
I have support from Madam Pro Tem. Please go right ahead with your questions.
Why are we removing?
I'm not understanding that.
So Director Clyburn, I guess you can answer the questions for item 6, and then for the Recreation Department, where is that coming from? The city's administration?
That's senior on it.
Since B and C, B, we will be more investigation administrative attention. C, we would like to bring it for the council as a workshop item for further discussion.
Is there a reason why we're removing 7 as well?
7A?
Yeah. So you just said 7 here, it doesn't from 7A.
So, I believe it's for the same reason.
The B that already is something.
No, that's not the B that's on the grant.
This is a donation from Northeastern Woodward Community Coalition.
Are we removing that?
Yeah.
Okay,
So we're moving to 7A.
and B and C.
No,
No.
6B and C, 7A.
7A.
6B and C.
And we're moving B, 6B.
6B and C, yes.
The administration's not ready. And then you said C, we're moving C for further discussion.
That's item 6C. The request from the CD director is to move that property sale, the private property sale,
To a workshop.
to a workshop. Additional questions? Madam Deputy Clerk, would you please call the roll on approval of the agenda?
Councilman Ashafi,
Yes.
Councilwoman Martin,
No.
Councilwoman Manica,
Yes.
Council Pro Tem Robinson,
Yes.
Council President Thomas.
Yes, motion carries. Next, under item 4, this is the approval of the proposed minutes. We have 4 sets of minutes. The workshop from July 15th, the regular meeting from July 15th, the special meeting from July 26th, and the special meeting, virtual and in person for both of these special meetings, for August 13th. City Council, what is your pleasure? We'll do these one at a time.
Yes, please.
On in-person and virtual workshop meeting for July 15th, 2024, City Council, what's your pleasure?
I move to approve the minutes for in-person and virtual workshop meeting July 15th, 2024.
Chair offers support. Questions, concern, dissent? Madam Deputy Clerk, would you call the roll on the in-person and virtual workshop meeting for July 15th?
Councilman Ashafi,
Yes.
Councilwoman Martin,
Yes.
Councilwoman Manica,
Yes.
Council Pro Tem Robinson,
Yes.
Council President Thomas.
Yes, motion carries. Moving on to in-person and virtual regular meeting for July 15th, 2024. City Council, what's your pleasure?
I move to approve the in-person and virtual regular meeting for July 15th, 2024.
Chair offers support. Questions, concerns, dissent? Madam Deputy Clerk, would you please call the roll for the in-person and virtual regular meeting minutes for July 15th?
Councilman Ashafi,
Yes.
Councilwoman Martin,
Yes.
Councilwoman Manica,
Yes.
Council Pro Tem Robinson,
Yes.
Council President Thomas.
Yes, motion carries. Moving on to the in-person and virtual special meeting for July 26, 2024. City Council, what is your pleasure?
I move to approve the in-person and virtual special meeting that was held July 26, 2024.
Chair offers support. Do we have questions, concerns, or dissent? Madam Deputy Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Ashafi,
No.
Councilwoman Martin,
No.
Councilwoman Manica,
Yes.
Council Pro Tem Robinson.
No.
Council President Thomas.
Yes, these minutes will not be a part of the official record for City Council. In-person and virtual special meeting for August 13th, 2024. City Council, what's your pleasure? This is for the August
Yeah.
the 13th.
This is all.
City Council, what's your pleasure?
I want to make a motion to approve the in-person and virtual special meeting August 13th, 2024.
Chair offers support for the motion. Questions, concerns, dissent? Madam Deputy Clerk?
Councilman Ashafi,
Yes.
Councilwoman Martin,
Yes.
Councilwoman Manica,
Yes.
Council Pro Tem Robinson,
No.
Council President Thomas.
Yes, thank you very much. Please include that in the official record. So now we're going to move on to the section of our regular meeting where we always turn the floor over to Mayor McDonald. Let me just point out that this is the only And we haven't had a regular town hall meeting where people are called together like this in a long time. And I think I didn't understand this is one of the few requests that I asked as a new council president, that we make sure we allow an opportunity for the mayor to speak. We give the mayor the floor. This is pending whatever future arrangements or relationships that we had. It's important to give the mayor an opportunity to address the public because it doesn't come along that often. We don't have a regular structured meeting where the mayor of the city can sit down with constituents in an official capacity. The only opportunity we would have had is the city council meeting. And I'm so glad that we included that into our early structure of our regular meeting so that the mayor could come and have an opportunity to address the public on a regular basis. That being said, it's our meeting. So we're going to try and keep it to where it's the city council meeting and the mayor is our guest, and we've given her the floor to be able to address you. I want to make sure that the citizens are aware that we don't want you to take over our meeting and use this as an opportunity to do anything other than allow the mayor to share the information with you that she wants to bring. So without further ado, I will call Mayor McDonald to the floor and turn the floor over to you, ma'am. It is yours.
Oh, this is new. Nice. I won't turn my back on you. All right, so first of all, good evening, citizens. Good evening to the honorable body and administrative staff that's here. First, let me thank you, all of those people who came out to National Night Out. It was a good time had by all. Special thanks to Coco, the wonderful band, the DJ, and the youth committee members that worked to make this event a success. To the HPPD and Chief McMahon, you guys put on an event that the citizens could sink their teeth into. They said your food was good. Continue to go to the extra mile to make sure that you are engaged in the city with the citizens. Second, we are planning our annual youth explosion. This event will happen in September. The Youth Advisory Committee is seeking sponsors and donations for the event. Please contact Ryan Wilkerson, who works for the police department, or Denario Barnes, also known as Rio the Great. I didn't say the rest of that. He actually say that. For more information. Third, we are working diligently to move the city forward. This means following the current ordinances until at what time the city council updates those ordinances. Please take time to look at the ordinance on the website. There's quite a few. I want to say 800 maybe, but take some time, go through them. Also, we will be sending out the ordinances that affect your homes. So you will be getting a document at your door that talks about all of the ordinances for either your council, your block club presidents. They will receive them and they'll print them out and make sure that you send them to their block club members, because there's quite a few ordinances that affect your home specifically. One is no barbecuing on the front porch. One is garbage can lids. Making sure that those lids are on to help control rodents. There's about, I want to say about 14 that affect just the house, at your house. Grass, weeds, all of that. So please make sure that you look at those. And I know that the city owns quite a few properties and we are working, trying to keep them down. But again, we only have 6 members a day in the DPW department out trying to cut down grass, trying to keep the weeds down, trying to make sure the alleys is clean. And until we get some more funding, that's what we're working with. At one time, DPW had 30 workers and they were union. So imagine having 30 workers and the city was beautiful down to 6, and we're trying to make sure we do what we need to. Vendoring ordinances, all vendoring ordinances will be adhered to. It's an ordinance, and it must be. So at this point, we're going to make sure that all of the ordinances are followed. Until at which time, the council members upgrade those ordinances, change those ordinances, or make the ordinances a better working for the city of Highland. Last but not least, I know some of you want to hear about what happened at the food truck vendoring, but I need advisement of our legal as well as myself. I cannot address anything that might be pending or possible pending litigation. So at that point, I can't talk about any of that. So Thank you. Have a good evening. And I'm hoping that we can all start working together to move the city forward in a way that's more positive and more effective for Highland Park.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so folks, this is citizens' participation as it relates to items specifically on the agenda. If there's something on the agenda where there's something you just want to get off your chest, I'll give you your 2 minutes to do so. If we don't have any council meeting agenda items for citizens' comment, we can move straight into the meeting. But as always, we will set time aside. Got a little louder timer today. We have anyone who wants to address items that are on the agenda. If there's an item on the agenda that you would like to address, I'm asking you to please step into the center aisle and move towards the podium. We'll take you in the order in which you appear. And if you'll be kind enough to state your name and what agenda item that we're going to discuss and move forward from there.
My name is Garland Hardeman, and I want to discuss item number 5, bid opening for water main service line replacement project.
Yes, sir.
Interesting that this item is on the agenda because I do have a specific issue. I purchased a property at 98 Brighton, and there's no water line there. So they removed the water lines for homes that were vacant, and they installed new water lines for people who were currently occupying their units. So I wanted to find out if there is going to be money available to now address properties that are currently occupied, and how much money was spent on the original, from the original grant, how much money was given to the city, how much money was spent per household on the original grant, because I was told that the money was now gone and they were not going to do my property.
It's new. Can ship without a couple screws. Go
Okay,
get the screws
yeah,
in
it
the
doesn't
mail, a
have
couple
any
days.
screw in it. All right. So I was told that the money had already been spent. There was no longer any money. They weren't going to do my property, and they asked me for almost $7,000 to install a line. And I said, I'm not doing that. I'll hire my own person before I pay you guys $7,000. So it's interesting that this is on the agenda. That's why I wanted to meet with my council member, because I've already spent about $50,000 improving this property. It was a total mess when I purchased it. I'm probably going to be into $120,000 by the time I'm finished. So I'm trying to improve property in Highland Park. I just spoke with their director, DPW, about a blighted property right behind mine. And so we can get that cleaned up. So I'm here for the long term. I live just 2 miles away in Detroit, Russell Woods, but I'm committed to Highland Park to do what I can to help to improve the city and to make my property one of the premier properties in the city. All right.
Okay, so this is my first time seeing you. Typically, when you ask a question like that, there's somebody on this side of the line that's writing some information down.
Okay.
That question about water lines, more than likely, you will have to call MCA. Since the directors are here, if you were to call them or to show up, fill out a questionnaire, that would be the most appropriate way for you to get your question answered. We don't typically answer the questions for the people that are asking them. As a city council, we're voting on things that are brought to our table. But the people with the capacity to answer your questions, you mentioned them, DPW, potentially the water department. So if you could follow up with them either with a phone call or in person at their office.
Okay.
That way you can get the answers. I want to make sure that you know where to get the answers to the great questions that you ask. And I do thank you for appearing tonight.
Well, thank you for allowing me to speak. I was telling your DPW director that I grew up in Detroit, but I spent 25 years of my life in Los Angeles as a Los Angeles police officer, but I also was council member and mayor of Inglewood, California for 12 years.
Okay.
So I'm familiar with the process, and hopefully, we can work together and get some things done.
All right. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful night.
I did speak with the DPW director today. We had a nice conversation.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Ms. Turner Johnson, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good evening, council. Charlene Turner Johnson here. I'm representing the agenda item number 7. I think it's number 7, the last item on the agenda, the last
7.
one, the communication from the pastors, the residents, and city leaders. I just wanted to read a little bit of the letter that we sent.
You got your time.
So on behalf of the almost 50 residents who signed this letter, we, the undersigned community leaders, pastors, and residents of Highland Park, write to you with a unified voice to express our deep concern and earnest request that each council member uphold the duties and responsibilities entrusted to you by the citizens of our community. First, we want to acknowledge and commend those council members who are diligently carrying out their responsibilities as outlined in the city's charter. Your commitment to serving our community, your preparation for council meetings, and your respectful and professional conduct do not go unnoticed. You set a commendable example for all. However, we recognize that there are areas where improvement is needed. We respectfully ask that all council members, number one, diligently prepare for council meetings. Number two, display appropriate decorum. Number three, show common courtesy and respect. And number four, prioritize the city's best interests. We have a little explanation under each of those items, so we hope that you will read them, and we respectfully ask that you comply with them. We close the letter by saying, we believe that adherence to these principles will enhance the council's ability to govern effectively, foster public trust, and promote a positive, forward-thinking environment in Highland Park. We urge you to consider our request seriously and act in the best interest of the residents you serve. Thank you for your attention to this important matter. We remain hopeful that together we can work towards a more prosperous and harmonious future for all citizens of Highland Park. And the letter is signed, first of all, by Bishop Lewis Evans, who is the president of the Pastors and Ministers Fellowship, and also by almost 50 residents who were gathered together in a meeting specifically to discuss city issues and how we could work more closely with City Council and with city organizations to promote a more prosperous and effective Highland Park. So we thank you for your consideration of the letter, and we hope that you will agree with the principles that we ask in this letter. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
My signature is on that letter.
Yes,
you very much.
Councilwoman Charmaine Robinson was at that meeting. Thank you.
All right. I don't see anyone else approaching the podium, so I'm going to take that as my cue to move into our regular meeting, starting with item 5. This is the bid opening. This is the 2023 Water Main and Sewer Line Replacement Project, contract number W as in whale, D as in dog, 202301, grant number ARP 7633-01. Madam Clerk has the opening bids for us, and she will begin that process. Well, excuse me, I'm sorry. I need a motion on the floor to get these bids open.
I move to have the bid opening for the 2023 Water Main and Service Line Replacement Project, contract number WD 202301, grant number ARP 763301.
We have a motion on the floor for to begin the bid opening from Councilwoman Manica. Do we have support? Chair offers support. Questions concerning dissent? Mr. Ashafi.
Is this bid opening for the master meters that are being put into the ground, or is this for something different?
Mr. Garrett?
No, that hasn't been designed. We've been working on the design since May. That bid is not coming out until spring 2025. So this is water improvements that part of the grant money that we've been receiving every year. So that service line will regular water main distribution. Meters are in the spring.
Madam Pro Tem? Okay, so the motion is out to begin. We have a motion from Ms. Manica, supported by the chair. Would you please call the roll to open the bidding?
Councilman Ashafi?
Yes.
Councilwoman Martin?
Yes.
Councilwoman Manica?
Yes.
Council Pro Tem Robinson?
Yes.
Council President Thomas?
Yep, motion carries. Open away. Once these bids are open, these packages are going to be handed over to the administration to filter through and provide us with feedback on any information related to the bids and whether or not the candidates are appropriate. That'll be a decision made within the administration's wheelhouse.
The first bid comes from Bidigair Contractors Incorporated,
How do you spell that?
BIDIGARE. They're in Plymouth, Michigan. Phase one, they have a bid price of $6,945,430. Again, the price for the first bid, for the first phase, $6,945,430. The bid for phase two, $6,440,643. Oh, my apologies, $6,440,643 for a total project price of $13,386,073. Again, total project price, $13,386,073. The next bid is from LGC Global. They didn't put their address close by, but the second bid is from LGC Global. Phase one,
LGC or UGC?
L as in Lincoln, G as in George. The bid for phase one, $4,771,288.38. Again, $4,771,288.38. Phase two, $4 million. Thank you. $4,012,261.02. Again, $4,012,261.02 for a total project price of $8,783,550.01. Again, total project price, $8,783,560.01.
Where are they located?
They didn't put the address, any of the immediate sheets. Oops, this is big.
The envelope, right? Summary of appendix.
What's this? Their address is 7310 Woodward Avenue. Again, 7310 Woodward Avenue, Suite 500.
City of Detroit. City of Detroit.
Yes, Detroit.
Okay.
48202.
Yes, 500.
Yes, 500, Suite 500. The next bid is from Bricko Excavating, BRICCO, Bricko, BRICCO. Their address, 21201 Myers in Oak Park. Again, that address, 21201 Myers in Oak Park. The cost for phase one, $5,752,377. Again, bid for phase one, $5,752,377. The price for phase two, $6,813,055. $6,813,055 for a total project price of $12,565,432. Again, total project price, $12,565,432. We had a total of 4 bids. Our final bid is from Major Contracting Group, 12222 Greenfield. Major, MAJOR Contracting Group Incorporated, 12222 Greenfield in Detroit.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So remember, let me see, the fourth one.
The price for phase one, $6,790,295. $6,790,295. Phase two, $8,399,462. Again, $8,399,462 for a total project price of $15,189,757. Again, $15,189,757. And those are all of the bids.
Okay, thank you very much. Members of council, I'm sure you can get detailed information from the clerk's office on the bids that came in. The name of companies, addresses, as well as the total bid amounts, and then it'll be handed over to the city's administration to move forward after this time. So moving on to item 6 under community development, this is the resolution to approve the Highland Park Housing Communities Limited Dividend Housing Association LLC payment in lieu of tax pilot, the tax exempt ordinance. This is item 6A. Members of council, what is your pleasure on item 6A? And for the people in the audience, we had 2 workshops on this pilot related to creating a framework. We have a motion on the floor from Councilman Ashafi, but this is to, and a second from Ms. Manning. This is to improve. What am I doing? Questions, concerns, dissent? I'm shocked. I'm gonna go with it. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll on item 6A?
Councilman Ashafi?
Yes.
Councilwoman Martin?
Yes.
Councilwoman Manica?
Yes.
Council Pro Tem Robinson?
No.
Council President Thomas?
Yes, motion carries. Okay, moving on to item 7 under recreation. This is a resolution to accept the Council of Michigan Foundation's CMF Department of Natural Resources DNR Spark Grant for $982,700. City Council, what's your pleasure?
I move to approve the resolution to accept the Council of Michigan Foundation, CMF, Department of Natural Resources, DNR, Spark Grant of $982,700.
We have a motion on the floor from Councilwoman Manica to approve the resolution to accept this Council of Michigan Foundation's Department of Natural Resources Spark Grant, seconded by Councilman Ashafi. Questions, concerns, dissent? Madam Deputy Clerk, would you please call the roll on item 7A?
Councilman Ashafi? Councilwoman Martin?
Yes.
Councilwoman Manica?
Yes.
Council Pro Tem Robinson?
Yes.
Council President Thomas?
Yes, motion carries. Moving on to item 7B, this is a resolution to issue an RFP for the implementation of a $494,000 congressional directed spending grant for fiscal year 2023, sponsored by Councilwoman Rashida Tlaib. City Council, what is your pleasure?
I move to approve the resolution to issue an RFP for the implementation of a $494,000 congressional directed spending grant for fiscal year 2023, sponsored by Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib.
Council, we have a motion on the floor for item 7B, a resolution to issue RFP for the implementation of the $494,000 congressionally directed spending grant, made by Councilwoman Manica, seconded by Councilman Ashafi. Questions, concerns, or dissent? Madam Deputy Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Ashafi? Councilwoman Martin? Councilwoman Manica?
Yes.
Council Pro Tem Robinson?
Yes.
Council President Thomas?
Yes, motion carries. Moving on to item 8 under this. Okay, so this is this. Okay. Okay.
The bids.
Okay. Council, the clerk has just brought it to my attention that once we opened the bidding process and we moved on, I need a motion on the floor to refer those bids or to turn those bids over to the water department in order for us to be.
Make a motion to accept those bids and turn those bids over to the proper department.
Okay, now, so that will be, just to be in proper order. Now, where is this gonna go in our agenda? This can come at any,
No, you've done it already.
okay,
It just needed to be voted on to refer to water for their,
Second.
so under item 5, we have a motion made by Councilman Ashafi to refer the open bids to the water department, and that
recommendation.
for their recommendation. This was seconded by Councilwoman Manica. On the matter of item 5, since we have this motion on the floor, would you call the roll on Mr. Ashafi's motion for item 5?
Councilman Ashafi?
Yes, to refer to the water department.
Councilwoman Martin?
Yes.
Councilwoman Manica?
Yes.
Council Pro Tem Robinson?
Yes.
Council President Thomas?
Yes, motion carries. Let the record show that City Council made kind of bridged our agenda here to revisit item 5 to make sure that we close it out. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 8, under our senior department. This is a resolution reviewing and approving the Detroit Area Agency on Aging proposed fiscal year 2025 annual implementation plan. City Council, what is your pleasure for item 8?
Motion.
We have a motion to approve from Council Pro Tem. That motion was seconded by Councilman Ashafi. Do we have questions, concerns, or dissent? Deputy Clerk, call the roll.
Councilman Ashafi?
Yes.
Councilwoman Martin?
Yes.
Councilwoman Manica?
Yes.
Council Pro Tem Robinson?
Yes.
Council President Thomas?
Yes, motion carries. Okay. For item 9, outside communication, we have a letter from the president of the Highland Park Pastors Association and Ministers Fellowship. This is an item that we can receive and file. City Council, what is your pleasure on how we deal with item 9 of the outside communication?
Motion to receive and file.
We have a motion on the floor from Councilman Ashafi to receive and file the item in the outside communication. Do we have support? We have support from Councilwoman Martin. Questions, concern, or dissent? Madam Deputy Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Ashafi,
Yes.
Councilwoman Martin,
Yes.
Councilwoman Manica,
Yes.
Council Pro Tem Robinson,
Yes.
Council President Thomas.
Yes, the motion carries. So I'm gonna pause before we get into citizen participation, and we are 45 minutes into our meeting and we have finished our business. That is proof that we can do this again. I don't know what we all had, same gust of fresh air, water, juice, whatever it is, whatever we had before we got here today, we need to have that before every meeting. Despite whatever our personal animus is, we managed to get the city's business attended to in 45 minutes. And that is worth applauding. So, members of council, anybody need a break? Because we all know once we get into citizen participation, we here. What we doing? Everybody, wait. Yeah, I'm open to, the chair is open for 3 minutes, 5 minutes.
Make a motion for a 3-minute break.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we're gonna take a short break, ladies and gentlemen, because we want to make sure that you get our full focus during citizen participation. Rarely is this room this full. So citizens participation can take, I'm gonna go ahead and put in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Give everybody a little extra something, as well as our council affairs. We have not had a meeting in 5, almost 6 weeks, something like that. Yeah, so. Opportunity for y'all to air yourselves out. We're gonna do the same. Ladies and gentlemen. It's not a bad idea. Yeah. I think that would be a good idea, even if the questions were read out loud, there's some merit to saying it out loud. So people feel as if they're being heard. If nothing else, if their question is addressed in a public forum. But half a dozen people might have the same question. They might have the same question. But then there might be some unique questions in there as well. I'm gonna wait till he comes back and I'll go. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, just to hand them off. That sounds like a good idea. Very good idea. You gotta take out your letter, get some index card.
Is this an expense budget? What is this? Yeah, probably in my mailbox. I mean, I didn't see any growth, I just saw expenditures over here. That's why I'm asking. Expense budget. Okay, all right. Okay. I did. There's no money. It's all expenditures, no money. All expenditures.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much, members of council. The chair will entertain a motion to reconvene our meeting.
I move to reconvene.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 7:47. We're reconvening our regular. So right now, we're going to move into citizens' participation. This is the portion of the program where any citizen, a resident of Highland Park or a friend of the community can come up to the podium and address us. This is an opportunity for you to participate. Please don't put a heavy weight on us to respond to you. Members of city council may, during their council affairs, try to address their question if they had a capacity, and or they may ask you a question to refer you to someone who can answer your questions. So at this time, we will go ahead and open up the floor. If you would like to address the community, the podium is there for you. The only thing I ask that you do is when you step up to the podium, if you just introduce yourself for the record and adhere to the 2-minute time frame. It's going to be 2 minutes and a couple little sprinkles in there today, just because. So if you would, please feel free to join us at the podium. And I will not start the timer until you've introduced yourself.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Lisa Stolarski, a resident of, oh geez. I'm Lisa Stolarski. I'm a resident of the 3rd District. Hi, this evening, council. I did a little research on the tree farm property, and I just wanted to let people know what I found out about it. So people know we're going to vote on whether or not we want to sell parcel 15241000021, which we own in Rochester Hills. And I just wanted you guys to know that we used to own maybe 40 to 45 acres up there. Now we own 0.7 acres. Parcel 020, it looks like we lost that property in a lawsuit in 2011, and it was turned over to the city of Rochester Hills. That was about maybe 11 or 12 acres. We also had, let's see, in 2013, we sold property 049 to Sunoco Pipeline. I was wondering if we needed a referendum for that because, well, it's just not clear to me how we're selling properties and whether or not we need a referendum for that type of property. Then we also, the bulk of the property, about 32 acres, is property 050, and that was sold in November of 22 to Elvis and Bukurji Logu. What's interesting is about a decade before that, another property developer wanted to buy that property, and they found groundwater contamination, migrating volatile methane gas, and also metals that are buried in with the trees on that property. And so that developer did not ultimately develop the property, and that's why a decade later we were selling it to the Logus. Now they want to sell the property to a developer called UTC. I forget what that stands for, but they're actually a housing developer as well. And they're asking for our remaining property, 021, that 0.7 acres, that we sell it to them for $6,000. So I just wanted to give people a background on what has happened to that property so far. And I don't have too many details yet, but I will get more details on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council. Good evening, citizens of Highland Park, my fellow polar bears. This microphone is not going to, so I'm gonna have to go down like this. Okay.
Name, sir?
Good morning, or good afternoon, good evening. I'm really
Gotta give me your name.
discombobulated. My name is Juan Shannon.
Thank you.
And I am a born and raised citizen of the historic city of Highland Park, Michigan. I said I was not going to be here for tonight because I have a lot of stuff to unpack. And because of some recent events, it has spurred me to want to be more aggressive about unpacking all of them. But I do not want to come off in a manner that I would say would trigger anyone to think it was a confrontation, because it is more a matter of our city has suffered in numerous incidents of disenfranchisement, of disrespect, more adjectives than I want to use right now because we don't have time. I remember when our police force was shut down. I remember when we used to have our own water department, when we had the 30 or 40 people for our DPW department. I remember when these things happened, and I remember when they shut down. I remember our street lights being taken out, and the only time we found out about our street lights being taken out was when trucks were pulling up onto the street. So I take very serious the fact that I'm a Highland Park, Michigan citizen. I take very serious the phrase that I wear on my chest constantly, Highland Park strong. And I came to really ask for our council, our administration to find workable solutions to work together. Tonight's meeting was kind of okay, but we can pull up the videos of when it was not. Highland Park can definitely come into I'm almost at a loss for words. Highland Park does not have to deal with the disrespect and with the disenfranchisement that we have had. And I, for one, am really tired of outside entities, having anything to say about our city. And then our leadership is not taking it the same.
Okay. And
I'm
Mr.
out
Shannon,
of time. Yeah.
I know, I don't want to, we had like 3.5. I want to make sure I keep the same rule. I feel your passion too. And I interrupted everybody else too. So.
I understand.
All right. Thank you so much, sir.
But that was the question, or that was the request. So thank you very much.
And I appreciate you. Okay. Hold on a second, man. We're gonna help with try to get the noise in the background shut down. Hold just a second. Okay, ma'am. How you doing this evening? Go ahead and introduce yourself. I'll wait till once you start talking to
Great.
second time.
Miss Stafford, resident of Highland Park. Miss Manica, I did remember one for you. The first one is, I had went into the water department to pay on my water bill. And when I got the receipt back, number one, you know, you're getting charged $3 for if you don't have the original bill. So I want to know, where is that $3 going towards? And it didn't have the balance of the money after I had paid. They said it would be on the next bill. I find that kind of odd because that's never happened before. So I wanted to see what's going on with that. And the next one is the solar company. I can understand that solar is great, but you have to look at it. Number one, we don't have that many residents in Highland Park like we used to. You have low income, bad credit, no income. You know, they need something like grants or monthly payments that people can pay according to their income. And as far as the next one is Avalon Village. I wanted to know, does anyone that is participating in the events for Avalon Village on that big lot there on Woodward, because there was a lot of cars parked there? Because I feel like it's unfair if whoever is over Avalon Village is parking there. I don't know if they're receiving money for each car or not, but the person that pays taxes on that land should be getting money for each car that's being there. And another thing, for cars that are being towed, I mean, people shouldn't get upset because you do know the rules when you park in front of people's houses and in their driveways, residents of Highland Park. Next, I want to know, when is the plumbing going to be fixed on certain streets in Highland Park? Because in the wintertime, a lot of my neighbors are senior citizens, and it was basements flooded after basements flooded. And the city, you know, was saying they don't have to pay, the city has to pay. So somebody needs to explain this to the residents of Highland Park so they can get a great understanding. And as far as the intersection on Oakland for Davidson on both sides, on the east side, I would like to know, like, when is that gonna be done? Because they don't even work like every week to fix it. It's been a minute. And people really need to use their intersection for that. And one more thing, can we please file for possibly a grant? I really don't know how this works, to get more commercial lawnmowers for these lots, because residents are getting upset, and it's not fair that they are yelling at the workers that are doing the work because it's not their fault. And pretty much that's it.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Next person, please.
Hello, my name is Shamika Nichols. I'm the executive director at Solidarity, a nonprofit organization. Can you hear me now? My name is Shamika Nichols. I'm the executive director at Solidarity, a nonprofit organization that began due to the repossession of over 1,000 streetlights residential. Since we started, we've been attempting to fundraise through grants, donations, and to be able to replace those streetlights with solar powered mesh Wi-Fi lights. I don't have much of an ask right now, but mainly we've run into, with the previous administration, a lot of obstacles. And so I'm just hoping that as more material come across your desk and more flyers are distributed around the community, that you all are in support of what it is that we're trying to do, which is just to relight Highland Park and gift that to the city.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening. My name is Speed Miller. I'm from Metropolitan Elks Lodge, 962 on 50 East Manchester. My exotic ruler have given me the task of coming down here and asking when they're going to fix these sinkholes over there in our driveway. Water now is coming to the point and start coming inside our building. And so we need to find out what's going to happen with that. And I will ask this last question. I know I ain't gonna get the answer to it, but I'm still trying to find out what happened to the liquor we had and that was broke when they broke it into our building and the police department had it, but don't nobody know what happened to it. Thank you.
Water in the building. Confiscated material, okay. So I have online, I have someone who is listed as Just Love. I see your hand raised. We're gonna do both, but I wanna make sure. Can a person that's online, I'm gonna ask you to unmute. Can you identify yourself, the person that's Love? That's what is showing up on the screen, LOVE.
Yes, I'm here.
Now, who are you, ma'am, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself?
So greetings to the mayor, city council, and community members. I'm Mama
Okay.
Shu, the founder and CEO of Avalon Village. Saturday, August the 10th, Avalon Village hosted the second annual Hungry Black Man Food Festival. Like last year, the event invited thousands to our city to enjoy food, music, art, good vibes, and it supported over 100 business owners. People from all over Michigan and other states came to have a good time. The event was safe, secure, and without serious incidents. Many festival goers received tickets or had their cars towed from Second Avenue specifically. On the eve of the event, there were 3 metal signs posted that said no parking and one that said no parking at any time. If people chose to park in that area in which the signs were posted between Glendale and Avalon Street only, then they probably earned that ticket. But to have their vehicles towed seemed very extreme. So I asked who ordered the no parking signs to be placed in that area between Glendale and Avalon only. Why was it ordered? More specifically, why were they placed on the eve of a repeated major event that was approved by the mayor? And logistically speaking, why weren't we adequately notified that no parking signs were going to be up? We could have gotten word to the organizers in time to pivot and warn people in advance that that area no longer allows parking, as well as posted security there intentionally to monitor and remind folks not to park there. In all the years I've been on Avalon Street and beyond, there has never been no parking signs on Second Avenue. Avalon Village owns a property on Second Avenue, right where a sign was placed. We discovered the signs was placed while maintaining the strip of grass on Second in preparation for the event, as well as our other events that we have. The space has been used for parking many times, even before we obtained it. Months ago, at a town hall meeting, Avalon Village, along with other community service organizations, were named as partners to the city of Highland Park. Our work is because we want to do our part to make things better where we live. However, this didn't feel like partnership. The optics gave that of intentionally and specifically targeting the event and Avalon Village, and an extension of the harassment that spilled over from the KRS-One event held on July the 30th, an event that was also approved by administration. Partnerships go both ways. We followed all the rules and protocols and submitted all of the required documentation that was requested to make this event a success again. Avalon Village normally submits documentation and applications well in advance, leaving room for any last-minute issues to be addressed before event day. Our calendar is set for 2025, which includes more of the same community-centered and children-centered activities we are known for and enjoy hosting. I am open and receptive to discuss and offer suggestions on how all events in the city of Highland Park can run smoothly and safely. We deserve it. Thank you. Peace and love.
Ma'am. Okay, ma'am, at the podium. Would you state your name for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Madeline Harold. I'm a lifelong member of Highland Park, born and raised here, educated here, worked here, and I'm retired now. I'm here to register a complaint. I live on Manchester at the Bishop Moore Apartments. LaBelle Towers, Bishop Moore, Benjamin Manor, Gabriel, and the complex where there are a lot of townhouses, Manchester Place, all take care of their properties. But the property that is from Woodward on Manchester to about halfway that block. I understand it's privately owned, but it looks like a wilderness. Can you please do something to get whoever is supposed to be taking care of it to cut it? It's got pink and red moss growing, and it's about a foot tall. The grass is taller than that. If you would, please.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's a large lot from Woodward and Manchester to approximately half the block between Woodward and Second. And it looks like a wilderness. Thank you. The orange and black, thank you. The orange and black building, yes. If
Okay,
you
thank
would,
you.
please.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all so very much.
All right.
Okay.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Good evening, citizens. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Alicia Strong, and I am from the Wayne County Treasurer's Office. I am here to remind everyone that we have started foreclosing on year 2022. Currently, that is the tax year that we are foreclosing on. Payment plans are now in effect. Right now, up until October, your down payment is 10% if you are eligible to get on a payment plan. I will be staying afterwards in case anyone has any questions, and I also have literature. Again, thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Janet Spite White, a longtime Highland Parker. I came back to Highland Park because I love Highland Park. When I first came back, the first thing I did was clean up my street. You couldn't see the sidewalks. After they moved the parade to Hamilton, I and other people, we cleaned up there. Not only did I clean up over there, even the president of the board of the council, Liberty School, I went up there when they asked for help. I cleaned up there. I cleaned the McGregor Library. In order for Highland Park to look better and do better, we have to leave our streets and help. I'm a master gardener. Anyone that needs help or flowers or grass, I'm here to help, because we cannot look good with just one block. We need the whole city to look good. And I left my street already. 2 houses across the street from me was for sale. The owners told me if it wasn't for the way my house and property looks, they wouldn't have been able to sell both houses sold for over $200,000. We have to work together in order to make Highland Park look better and be better. And we got to get off of just doing one block, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name's Gracie Wooten. I'm 249 Easton Street. And I just have 3 things that I want to talk to you about tonight. Okay, number 1, I was just thrilled to hear about the ordinance. You know, I have been dying to have a street light on Hamilton. Like with the other council, you know, I continuously raise the fact that I believe, and my block club believe, that a street light was taken down mistakenly on Hamilton, because it is very, very dark in the morning, at night. People have run into the island off of Hamilton, the island that's on Easton, they've run into it from both ends. So like, we were so pleased to have a grant to light the island, but we still need lights on Hamilton. So with that solar ordinance, thankfully, we could possibly get a street light on city property so that our children who are walking to the bus stops in the morning, you know, don't have to walk in the dark, and that residents who take a bus don't have to stand in the dark because there's no light where we are on Hamilton. The second thing I wanted to ask the council and the mayor is to publish the names of the residents who are on the citizen district councils, we used to have the names published so that residents could see who the members are of the citizen district councils. But they haven't been published since the new council has been on board. And I know it's a joint thing, between the mayor and the council to appoint people, but that needs to be done and those names need to be published, just like the Block Club presidents' names are published, And so, it should be published. The third thing is to just remind people that the legislation for the statewide affordability plan is still on the table. We need our legislators to get on board and pass that legislation. All of the communities, not only Highland Park, all of the communities need water affordability. So this plan is statewide, and I've asked the council to support this legislation as well as the mayor. So we need to, really send your support to our legislators. Thank you.
Good evening, council, citizens. My name is Renee Port. I live on West Buena Vista. I have a question for DPW. I have a lot that is still owned by the land bank. I paid to have it cut. My lawn service guy messed up his lawnmower. I agreed to pay for it because when they planted the grass seed or the soil, the netting, it never took hold. So I wondered if you could come over there and take a look at it, because paying $25, $50 to have that lot cut next to my house is a little much for me as a senior citizen. The second one is to Mr. Clybourne. When they tore that house down, they damaged my fence. And I sent pictures to him, and I need him to get back with me as far as what I can do, because I have a privacy fence that was put up there, but it was damaged in 3 spots. So I need him to contact me. I need it on record that I did say it again for the 3rd time at the meeting, that nobody has contacted me or came out. Third, my son is 42 years old. He gives an annual Father's Day barbecue for the last 3 years. My question is, and I know it won't be answered, but somebody should call me. We block off the street for 4 hours. Why is it other people can block the street off for 12 hours, 10 hours? Do I have to have $1 million whatever to be able to block my street off longer than 5 hours, 4 hours? And literally, there has never been an incident, because I'm a Highland Parker. I will kill those boys. So again, the question is plain as this. Why is it that some of us are only allowed 4 hours and some of us are allowed 10 hours?
Good evening, council. Good evening, citizens. I just wanted to come up here and say,
could you introduce yourself, sir?
Yes, I'm sorry. My name is Lauren McGee. Unfortunately, I can't say long time. I am a long time Highland Parker, but I'm not a lifelong Highland Parker, but this is my adopted city now. I would just like to say, I remember a few weeks back, there was a gentleman in the audience. He was interested in, he said he was the new owner of the property at Woodward and Beresford, that Little Caesars Plaza. And I spoke openly about you guys not selling him the property because I didn't think anybody was they didn't take care of it. They was not picking up garbage and all that, but he went on, he purchased the property, and I'll stand up here and say that property is 100% improved. He's fenced it all in, where it actually makes the whole block of Beresford looks better. So I know Clybourne had him, told the guy to come to my house. He actually came by my house and met with me and told me exactly what he was going to do. Of course, I was like, yeah, right. We didn't heard things before, but the next day that guy was out there and they fixed up the whole lot, fenced it in, not with cheap fencing. He even has a gate there. Looks like you're going to have a pass to go up in there. So it looks good. So this is one thing I like to share that I feel is good news for the city of Highland Park, because at this point in time, we need some good news. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I don't see any other people moving to the podium. I do have one guest citizen. Go ahead, sir. We'll have you close it out, Chief. I don't see any more hands online.
Thank you. My name is Herbert Ivory. I grew up in the city of Highland Park. I'm no longer a resident, but my family members are still residents. And the mayor said something when she spoke. She talked about making the city a great place. And Highland Park has always been a great place. I remember we had Sears, we had everything. I can go back a long way, like many of you can. What I've heard the citizens say here is that they have some real concerns. And I have a concern too. I'm a member of the Revival Tabernacle Church, which is located right off 6 Mile, that area there. And, you know, I come from a meeting in Pontiac, and I drove all the way down from Pontiac to Highland Park, and at no point did I run across a strip club until I got to Highland Park. So my concern is for that strip club that's there. Now, I've heard, and I could be wrong, correct me if I am, that it had a fire and it closed up, but now someone else is attempting to buy that property and they want to get a liquor license for that property. Now, of course, you have your ordinance. I can't tell you what to sell. What I find interesting is that on that sign, they talk about complete nudity, and anyone can attend from 18 up. That's a problem, okay? Having been a principal for 45 years, I can tell you that's a problem. So all I'm asking is that the board here take that in consideration. I can't tell you to not sell the property. I know how that is. I know about ordinances, but this liquor license and open that property up again, I would strongly recommend that you take a serious look at that in consideration of not doing any of that, to tell you the truth. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And last to the podium, closing out to this participation, we have Chief McMahon.
Hey, good evening, council. Good evening, citizens. I appreciate you coming. So I want to talk about a couple positive things. First, I do want to thank everyone for attending National Night Out. For those of you who had a chance to make it, it was a really fun time. I think a lot of people had fun, and it was nice to just socialize with the community and kind of, you know, get a chance to talk to people under better circumstances instead of always something, you know, negative. I also want to share with you on September 21st at the Hamilton building, 13233 Hamilton, we're going to be having a mental health training class. You have to pre-register. You can register with our records officer, Everett Monroe. This is a good training. I think it helps. It helps the citizens and you know, whomever wants to come, how to deal with people who are in crisis and what the options are and the best way to talk to them. And our officers are attending these trainings as well. So we make sure that we're all on the same page and that we're all properly trained in how to deal with people, you know, that are in crisis. Unfortunately, there's a lot more stress in life right now, you know, financial stresses, personal stresses, and a lot of people are having a hard time and they don't know how to deal with it. And, you know, it's important that we recognize people who are struggling and we address them properly. And sometimes people don't need to go to jail. They just really need a helping hand. Right. And that's kind of what, you know, that's kind of what we're focusing on. So now I guess I want to talk about the elephant in the room. And obviously that's the event that took place at Avalon Village. And for the record, I do want to say, I think the event at Avalon Village is a positive thing. I do think that it does bring in outsiders into this community and allow us to showcase our city. I was disappointed to hear words like entrapment, targeting, harassment, and words like that used, because I don't think that properly labels what took place. I also heard a statement that the only thing Highland Park has going for it is Mama Shoe in the Avalon Village. And I would disagree with that because over the 17 years that I've been here, I've met a lot of great people. And I think the people are what makes Highland Park great. Not to say that that doesn't include Mama Shoe because it does. Okay, but it includes a whole group of people, everybody. So again, I was disappointed to hear words like that being thrown around because it's simply not true. I would kind of want to give a timeline, a brief timeline. So the application for this event was filled out probably about 2 weeks before. We did have an opportunity to meet with Mama Shoe and discuss some concerns we had with which obviously parking was one of them. The Avalon Village provided some lots. It's my understanding they were charging like $20 a car. So some people opted not to park there, and they opted to park on the streets. Unfortunately, people parked in areas that have prohibited parking, and that caused officers to have to make a decision. Now, the instructions that were given were obviously we were going to tow vehicles that restricted emergency vehicles from getting down the street. We're going to tow vehicles that were blocking alleyways. We're going to tow vehicles that were improper or safety issues, kind of standard reasons for impounding vehicles. So to share some stats with you, we towed 24 vehicles. So I don't know what's true. They were boasting that they had 10,000 people there. So 10,000 people, let's assume that 1,000 of them drove a car there. We're talking about less than 2% of the people who attended that event had their vehicles towed. Now, out of that 2% of the vehicles, several of them had improper plates, so they shouldn't be on the road anyway. One of them opted to park on the sidewalk. One of them opted to park blocking an alleyway. We towed 4 vehicles from 2nd and Glendale area. We towed 5 vehicles from 2nd and Avalon. We towed 1 vehicle from Woodward and Avalon, which was the one that was blocking the alley. And we towed 14 vehicles from Farron Park and Woodward. Now, why did we tow 14 vehicles from Farron Park and Woodward? For those of you who are familiar with Farron Park and Woodward, you know there's an island there and it's congested when you come around the corner off Woodward. There's no way that emergency vehicle, i.e. a fire truck, could have made that turn with the way the vehicle's parked. There's pillars on the side of the easement that prevent people from going up on the grass to park. And parking in that little area causes congestion that blocks emergency vehicles. So that's where the majority of our vehicles came. Now, some people said, we could have just wrote them tickets. That's not an option in a scenario like that. Because if you live on Farron Park and your house catches on fire and they come down Woodward and they can't get there and now they got to backtrack and go down 2nd, that's seconds that are lost, minutes that are lost. And so that's not an option. Some other people said, well, they towed every car, they wrote them tickets. We wrote a total of 20 tickets that day. 8 of those tickets were associated with tows. That means the vehicle was towed and ticketed. That was an egregious act that the officer made the decision that they should be cited and towed. 12 of them had their vehicles ticketed but not towed. So some people say this is a money grab. If it was a money grab, we would have towed every car available, but we didn't. We wrote citations to people who deserve citations and we towed those who needed to be towed. It's as simple as that. People also showed bills online, $400 and something. What are these different numbers? However, the bills that they showed online for that amount of money were private property tolls. Several people opted to park in businesses, the party store, the AutoZone, things like that. AutoZone has a contract, and these people have a contract with the tow company. They do not give the discounted rate to private to them because they're towing as a business for them. Municipalities get a discounted rate. So our tows are less than what a private property would be towed. The police department has nothing to do with vehicles that were towed from AutoZone. We have nothing to do with vehicles that were towed from the store. or any other private business. That's not our business. That's the owner's business to tow those vehicles. Our average price of a vehicle that was picked up for $275, which is basically our contractual price plus a storage, plus an administrative fee. So it's about $275 is the average price of a tow, which is pretty standard in the industry across the board with municipalities. Several of them came in on Sunday. The owner of the tow company, knowing that people would want to get their vehicles back so they could make it to work on Monday, had staff come in on Sunday to allow people to pick up their vehicles, and stayed late Saturday, which is not their standard hours. So again, it's very disappointing to hear things like entrapment. People say we entrapped them. We put these signs up and we posted all these signs because we were trying to trap them and get the money. The signs that were on Second, a lot of them have been there for years, contrary to what was said tonight. Some of them were replaced prior to the event. Now, why is that? Because we've had numerous citizens complain about last year's event, how out of control it was, and that people were parking in driveways, people were blocking alleys, people were parking everywhere. So we prepared for that. So it wasn't entrapment, it was preparation. We prepared for thousands of people, and as they say, 10,000 people, which is more than our residents of this community coming to visit this community. So we prepared for it, and they put up signs. Now, was there some signage confusion in a couple areas where I think DPW posted signs that said no parking on Tuesday, and they were literally in front of metal signs that said no parking? Yes, absolutely. There was. And for those people, I'll get with legal and we'll see what we can do to make that work. That was a very small percentage. I estimate about 4 of them, 4 vehicles. The rest of them were parked in noticeably, easily seen signage was available, but yet they parked there. Now, I personally called Mama Shu. I know the mayor personally called Mama Shu, and Mama Shu and her team were great. They made announcements several times throughout the event. Please move your car, your vehicle will be towed. Please move your car, your vehicle would be towed. People opted not to listen to that. They didn't think that was going to happen. But it did. Because they failed to listen. Other people said, hey, I ran up on the tow company and they wouldn't drop my vehicle. For those of you who don't know, Michigan has a law that says if you come up to a vehicle that's improperly parked, the tow company has to drop the vehicle for a reasonable fee. So I talked to the owner. I said, were there any cash drops? And there were. There was approximately 3 cash drops where people paid a reasonable fee, which I think it was $100 and something, and dropped their vehicle. Okay. Some people say, hey, that's a high reasonable fee. We don't set the reasonable fee. There's case law that says that that's a reasonable fee. And it is what it is. But the vehicles were dropped on scene. So there were vehicles that were dropped on scene. So there's a lot of misinformation going around. Others said the mayor was leading this charge of towing vehicles. So let me explain this. The mayor has no authority over the police department itself when it's dealing with laws. Now, is she my boss? Absolutely. Could she fire me? Yeah. But she does not tell me what to do when it comes to laws. I am not intimidated by anyone, and nor does she try, thankfully, because that would force me to resign. Because there's nobody in the city who's going to run me and force me to do something illegal. Okay? But thankfully, she doesn't do that. So what she does is she relays things that she hears from the community. A lot of the complaints she heard were from citizens talking about parking, talking about having to deal with loud noise every weekend, having to deal with late night basketball, having to deal with parking issues. People confide to the mayor or they confide in the police department anonymously because they don't want to get up here and they don't want to get the death threats or the ridicule online that we have to take because it's our job. Okay? The normal citizen doesn't want to do that. So they reach out to us and say, hey, can you deal with this issue? And we do, because we have an obligation not only to protect Mama Shu and her events, but to cater to the citizens in the surrounding areas as well. And that's exactly what we did. Now, do I think there could be discussions in the future to where we could probably come up with something that would work out better for everybody? Absolutely. And we're willing to do that. And I'm certainly willing, and I've made posts online that I would love to reach out to the Hungry Black Man and to Mama Shu and sit down and try and come up with something. Quite frankly, my personal opinion is that's not the venue for these large events. But my opinion doesn't matter. That's an ordinance that needs to be created. Okay? I will enforce whatever laws are on the books and whatever the citizens and council and the mayor and whoever else decide that is what's right for this community. That's what I will enforce. And as of now, the laws that we enforced were on the books and they're appropriate. You know, this event turned ridiculous in social media. People are making threats to the mayor. They're going to beat her they're going to F her up. They're going to do all this stuff over parking. Okay. At the end of the day, this is parking. So to hear these threats and, you know, that this community, I mean, let's face it, it was blatant. This community sucks is what was been put out there. And that this community is, you know, a crap hole and all these other things that they said online. To me, I take insult to that because this has been a part of my life for over 17 years, Highland Park. And like I said, what makes this community great, in my opinion, are the people. Okay. And are people, some people struggling financially? Is the community struggling financially? Yeah, because we don't have the tax base yet. Does that mean that's the way it's going to be forever? No, the pendulum will swing the other way and this place will be great. Look at Midtown, look at Cass Corridors, all these other places. Our day is coming. But in order for it to come, we have to work together. We have to enforce these laws together. And we have to understand that we need to make it good, not just for myself, not just for one person in this room, but for everyone. So I've ranted a lot and I've been on a soapbox, but I'm very passionate about this because there was some really insulting things that were said about the officers. People attacked their you know, their physical appearance. People attacked their uniforms. People, you know, all of these things that people chose to attack about the police, you know, as individuals. You know, you shouldn't be mad at an individual about the way they look. And it's certainly, I think it's something that's despicable that you would, you know, someone would make that their argument, especially someone on this caliber that this person is. So it's very disappointing. I hope that, you know, future events that we're able to work together. I hope that we're able to come up with some alternative that works out for everybody. This is certainly not a money grab. People said we made thousands, tens of thousands of dollars off this. With administrative fees, we've made probably about $2,000 with administrative fees, which for those of you who don't know, the contract allows $100 per car to go to the city of Highland Park. That covers administrative costs for the officer to be there to deal with the car, for the releasing of the car, the documentation of the paperwork, all of these things that it covers. However, we were told by the organization days before that the Wayne County Sheriffs were going to be securing the area. The day of the event, mind you, the event started at 12. By 1:30, we realized that they weren't coming. Okay, that forced me to make a decision. That decision was I needed to call people in for overtime because we have 10,000 people coming to our community and we don't have enough officers there. God forbid something bad happens. Now, thank God it didn't. And the crowd there was phenomenal. The people there, no problems whatsoever. Same with the KRS-One event, no problems whatsoever. The crowds were great. But what no one expects the crowds to be out of control. No one prepares or expects a mass shooting. They just happen. And if you're not prepared for it, people lose lives. So we had to call in overtime. So we've called people in. Based on that, the city lost money during this event. There was nothing paid to the city. They were charging $20 to park on city lots. However, the city made no money. We lost money. So from a business perspective, you guys decide how you want to handle that.
All right.
Good night.
Thank you,
Sorry.
Chief. No, I want to thank the chief for showing up. So, and this does happen. So last week on Wednesday, I sent an email to the mayor and I said, Madam Mayor, would it be okay to have the chief bring us some hard numbers? As things were spiraling in an emotional way, we wanted to get some facts so that we could contextualize what actually happened. There's a factor that we cannot control. We are the city of Highland Park. We have a wonderful nonprofit within our city, but we also have people who make decisions independent of the two bodies that are working. And so I asked the chief to come here with some hard numbers and to make a distinction between legally parked vehicles and vehicles that were parked inappropriately. He did an excellent job of doing so to make sure that we minimize the amount of misinformation that is out there. And I would like to thank you because this stops the partisan divide among people in the conversation if we have the hard numbers and the hard facts. I think that's very important. So thank you so much, Chief, for taking the time out to get those questions answered. At this point, we're going to turn it over to the councilman from the 3rd District for Council Affairs, and we'll move through the council seats.
Chief, do we know how many lots were being used? I mean, city lots were being used for parking at $20 a pop?
I did not attend the event. I was not here, but that's information that was relayed to me. I'm sure through body cams and things like that, we could get that information.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, so first of all, I just want to say, I stand with the chief, I stand with the police department, and I stand with the mayor. It's one thing to criticize, and I do my fair share, but I believe I've earned that right being here for 24 years. I don't like the idea of outsiders coming into our city and criticizing our elected officials. They even criticized this council, which had nothing to do whatsoever with the event. In fact, the discussion that we were trying to have was not to shut down any event, but was to try to figure out where all of these individuals were going to park. And one of the suggestions that I was going to make that I never got a chance to make at the special meeting was maybe this council could give Avalon Village a variance to park on one side of 2nd Street. But we never got an opportunity to do that. Now, anybody who lives here, who is a resident here, you know without having any signs on 2nd and 3rd Street, there is no parking on 2nd and 3rd Street. Why is that? Those are thoroughfares for emergency vehicles to get through. They narrow as it is. If you park on both sides of the street, no truck can get through. My little car can barely get through, and I got a little key. Okay, so we were going to, at the special meeting, which we never got an opportunity to do because somebody felt like they shouldn't be here and this was inappropriate. We were going to suggest that maybe we could give Avalon Village a variance to park on one side of 2nd, and it would have helped you guys out. But that was quickly shut down on our end. But nonetheless, we were blamed on social media for what happened. Council had nothing to do with it. But whenever the mayor and the chief did, I stand with the chief and I stand with the mayor and what they did. They enforced the law, they kept this community safe, and I am grateful for that. I am not complaining whatsoever. Those who do have a complaint, you're more than welcome to address that complaint, but we have rules in Highland Park. And I don't understand the sense of entitlement where you feel you can come into this city and do as you see fit. That's not how this city works. We can't come into your city and do as we see fit. There are rules and regulations that must be followed. Is it not? Am I mistaken in that? I don't think I can go to Ferndale and do that. I don't think I can go to Royal Oak and park anywhere I want to park. I don't think I can go into Detroit. I definitely can't go into Detroit because they got me last week, man, $45 for a ticket. Oh, well, they got me last week. I was so heated. $45. Anywho, but all I'm simply saying is that council had nothing to do with it, but that's besides the point. I still stand with the chief and I stand with the mayor. Don't come into our city and insult us and call us stupid and incompetent and then expect us to respond in a positive way. I want you to keep in mind, you have another event that's coming up on the 26th. Instead of sitting here criticizing us, I would be working very hard to figure out where you're gonna park. And I yield back. We are working on it now. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Martin?
Hello, citizens. Chief McMahon, I have to agree with what you're saying. I'm gonna start off with saying that the words are being used. Some of the words are being used, we had that special meeting about the PRS-1 was cancel and attack. My question, when you use those words and the same words that you described, how do you build community with using those type of words? Those are already words of separation. There was nobody attacking anybody. I wasn't wanting to cancel any event. I love the positive things that Mom should bring. However, there's a certain control that needs to happen when you have those large events and on private property just can't have it. There needs to be a better place that can accommodate that many people. That special event, that social meeting that we had was a discussion. I wasn't trying to cancel anything and I wasn't trying to attack anybody. When you have 2,000, 10,000 people, that's a threat to the city. My thing was, I was thinking about safety among the people. I said the same thing Ann said. I said, how do you have, when you have a fire or somebody needs to go to a hospital, how can those emergency vehicles get in there and save somebody because it's seconds? When you have to save a life, that's seconds. Don't nobody want to see somebody go around the block to put out a fire or save somebody's life. Don't nobody want that. You don't want that for yourself, and I wouldn't want that for any visitor that came in here to do any event in the city. So that special meeting was a discussion. Somebody said it was a cancel. I never said it. That never came out of my mouth. It was a discussion. So where can we sit there and accommodate 10,000 people? KR1 coming out here, that was awesome. But I always have to think about the citizens that are not attending here. That anything can happen. I gotta think about them too. I gotta hear citizens that don't on that parking, on the sidewalk, on their lawn, all of them. And I even mentioned to one of Mama Shoe supporters, I mentioned what happened to cars get towed. And I was told by one of the supporters, don't y'all need them. But then you get mad when it happens. That doesn't make sense either. I'm gonna stress another thing. The words we use cause a separation. We want to be community, create community, and build community. We first got to work on the words we use. I just took 30 seniors to Senior Friendship Day. I found out that there was another group going from Highland Park, and then I said to the seniors, you can either go with, I didn't know there was two groups going. I said, you can either go with the recreation group, or you can go with my group, either or. You have choice. Our group is going to go to this month afterwards, but you can have a choice on which one you're going to go with. I was informed by one of the coordinators that said, don't go with Miss Martin's group because it's dangerous. What? We're not popping willies in a bus? What? That sounds crazy. Nobody's speedy. Got certified. He's a driver. Insurance was on it. Everything is covered. Those are conversations that separating us as citizens. We have to work on that. We have discussions. When it's about safety, about the citizens, we're having discussions. That's not attack. With that being said, you guys know I always appreciate you guys coming out here. You could have chosen to be anywhere else, but you chose to be here today. So thank you so very much. Appreciate it. And on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for coming as usual. I am in accord with the mayor, police, the council, that we do have rules. I'm not gonna beat a dead horse. Pretty much it's already been said, that we get a bad rap. And we're talking about large events. Well, the Dream Cruise is pretty large.
Hello?
And they also did the exact same thing. The day before, different cities that had part in that put out signs just a block over or in certain places, only the day before. How I know? Because I drove through there, so happened the day before. And then drove through during the time of the Dream Cruise. Signs were not there, and then they were there. So same thing, you don't hear a lot of people complaining, or complaining at all. Because you know what happens, it's just, people have been used to something or not having it done, and they think, hey, this is where we're gonna come to do. So a lot of times, we're not trying to keep things from happening, we're trying to start where we haven't been. And so just saying that, again, I thank everybody for the participation in those events and making them safe. I thank her for putting those events on. I am going to respond to a couple of things. Water department, we will have those questions. I meet with them. And then you mentioned also about plumbing, when they're gonna fix the streets. I did talk to them. I have a meeting with them at least once a month. And so I will make sure that I have them, but that's completion is supposed to be done by September. And you should be able to drive, as well as I talked with the engineers or MCA, and we're looking at doing things like even maybe putting up a standing sign. We're looking at it that will tell you that this project is happening, when it starts, when it ends, things like that. So we are looking at ways to kind of alleviate those questions. We haven't got there yet, but that is one suggestion that we've been talking about. So Solidarity, they just left, but the ordinance is not in there yet, but we're getting there. That's a big piece, the solar ordinance and what it's going to cover. I will also, since that is in my district, the Elks, I will also talk to the engineers about the potholes. The other part I can't handle. That's the police over there, chief. CDAC, we can't put that list out yet because it hasn't been solidified. It is about finding, and I'm sorry, that's the Citizens District Advisory Council. We still looking for people. It's hard to get volunteers. It's not a paid position. So understand that. I know I've been trying it. I last year had a full squad pretty much. And this year is looking really bleak. Okay. So I did, so we're still trying to cover that. So I'm going to say to anyone that is interested, it would be good if you come and bring your name, even maybe a little bit about you, drop it off. If the mayor's on, she can remind me or remind us if it was dropped off at the clerk's office or where to drop it off. Maybe it's just give it to them to put in our boxes. I'm not sure. But so we did, so that's going on with Ms. Gracie's gone, but that's what's going on. I think that's who asked about that, CDHC. So we are trying. So if anybody out here think they might want to be part of that, or online, thanks, online, cover that.
I need people in 6.
You need
people in 6. It's going from
so I think they're calling their precincts out, guys.
Yeah, I need people in 6.
So that means if you're in your area, just ask, because it may already be 2 in your area, but if not, and it may be something we have to look at again to just fill it and not necessarily in your precincts, but right now, we want you in your precinct. So whatever area you are in, reach out to your council person or the mayor that you are interested in. If you can't get to one of us, you can always leave that information and they can put it in our box. The other thing is, thank you. I think we did have a great meeting this evening. I feel like we were prepared. We studied maybe, I don't know how much each one studied, but we were a little prepared. So thank you for your letter. We do hear you guys out there talking about it. We talk about it too when we can. we definitely can work together. So with that being said, so I'm about to spring something. I'm about to spring something. We were talking about ordinance. So up here, I do have, somebody mentioned the ordinance. I have several ordinance up here that we picked, or I picked, to talk about and to discuss. But how maybe we can do that is, and I'm suggesting to my council people, is that we form committees. It can only be a committee of 2. And so maybe you 2 or myself and Mr. Shafi is working on, couldn't think of such, the vending. And myself and Mr. Thomas is working on an ordinance. But it would be forming committees, and actually it is this, we would volunteer for that committee, or our president will say, hey, Ms. Martin, can you work on this committee? Or whoever work on this committee. And so that's one of the ways we're going to try as a city council to begin to work on those ordinances. Now, please don't think it's gonna happen tomorrow. I want y'all to know it's not gonna happen tomorrow or next week. But that is our beginning to try to rectify some of the things that are happening that don't need to happen. You know, it just doesn't. And if you see other cities doing it, and so if we happen, and I happen to get my wish, and you see parking meters or parking spaces, don't be mad. Cause he got a ticket. Like, I don't know if that's what it was for, but.
It was.
Oh.
Yeah, $45.
Those are things that we may need to bring revenue into our city. And I agree with, the resident that said, we all have to work together, guys. We all gotta have a better conversation and sit down and know that we're working toward a better city. We don't want anyone to come in and take our city, and we definitely not gonna take to outsiders who don't live here, because for some reason y'all are coming here. Y'all must love us. With that being said, everybody have a great evening. Thank you.
I just wanted to say hello, everybody, and thank you for coming out. Hi, that's all I got. All right.
Okay. So I'm gonna try to be as brief as I possibly can. We managed to get our business done today, and that was something that I was impressed with, that we could just focus on the actual business. For the sake of clarity, let me just make this clear. Special meetings are for a specific purpose. The framework of the special meeting is for an action item that is to be voted on. That item that is to be voted on is something that the city council is empowered to actually vote on. The special meeting for the KRS-1 event was not called to order properly. There was no item to be voted on. There was no resolution. Variances come from the planning commission. These things all exist, but they don't exist in the way that they were framed, okay? There were 800 people at the KRS-1 event. And again, we're talking about 2 instances. We've had 2 instances of the Highland Park Food Festival, twice. If you flip any coin, there's one chance it's gonna be heads, another chance it's gonna be tails, 50-50. We've had 2 instances to manage this. So the fact that we've only had this minor amount of hiccups in a city that's growing is actually encouraging. The fact that we do have a streamlined government where the mayor and the police chief and the head of a nonprofit can actually talk to each other without layers of bureaucracy is actually a good thing. I would love for us to have the type of problems where we have more and more people coming to our city. But let's honestly talk about the major events that have happened in Highland Park over the last few years. I remember the music festival at the shopping center. And because of COVID, there was a situation where a private property owner came forward and provided a space for the public. It wasn't perfect, but the last time we had a major event, that's what happened. A private property owner came forward and made a space for the public. Let's make sure that everybody here is a wonderful person. Okay, those of you who have parents, you love all of your children. Okay, but let's make sure that we give honor and respect to someone who has done something that has benefited all of us, those of us who live here, those of us who work here. In the last month and a half, we had a major news channel come into our city and highlight all the wonderful things that were happening 24 hours in the city of Highland Park. There was an opportunity for every aspect of our city, every facet of government, and many citizens' activities to be raised to a level of appreciation and accolades. And that happened because of the work that has been done in the Avalon Village. Shu is Michiganian of the Year for the state. 10 million of us here. The governor picked her. She is among a small cohort of people that are seeing in heroes, not because the idea that there will be a person who would take their suffering and turn it into an expression of love for the community, to assume that that person will be doing something for aggrandizement is the highest level of hypocrisy. How did Avalon Village come to be? What was the sacrifice? Those of you who go to church on Sunday, he loved the world so much, he gave to you his son. Let us not forget that this lady lost 2 kids here, her children. So let's not, when I saw this stuff online, I just put my computer down. It is not the right of someone else to come from outside of our community and see our laundry on the line and say, look at your sheets. That's not anybody's role. We should not feel good about somebody from the outside coming in to criticize us and say negative things about us and just stir up fights, internal fights and families that have been going on back and forth. But let's remember that this has only happened 2 times, and this is an opportunity for us to grow as a community. We can learn a lot from this. We could absolutely learn a lot from this. And I think that we did learn a lot from it. We were gone for 6 weeks, and I just want to make sure that the citizens know what was happening while we were away from City Council. We received a letter from our business administrator related to something that was serious that we should all talk about. That's House Bill 4675 and House Bill 4679. This relates to land banks having the ability to come into the city of Highland Park under the umbrella of a resident or property owner, where we're all assessed a stormwater runoff fee. And these land banks are asking through this legislative act, after they lost in court, to be given an exemption when we're all assessed for that bill. What happens to the bill? If you got 10 people that are billed and 5 people say that they're exempt and the bill still stands, that means the bill is distributed among the remaining 5 people. That would be people in our community. That would be the city of Highland Park. The stormwater runoff fee is a pass-through. It is a mandate that's passed on to citizens. House Bill 4675, House Bill 4679. If you don't know about these bills, write this information down. Go Google that. You need to talk to your legislative representatives about that. On August the 29th, I was invited by Mayor Duggan through Marshall Bullock to visit a site where the Joe Louis Greenway, it was unveiling a new section that was being opened at 8101 Intervale. Tom Perez from the United States White House was here, an advisor to the president, to talk about the funds that were being delivered to the city of Highland Park. One of those projects that they're really proud of is the Joe Louis Greenway. And they talked about the impact that those projects are going to have on the communities that are along the Greenway. I'm glad to hear that we have nonprofits, we have our city, as well as the Greenway working in concert. If our fingers are crossed, this could be the infrastructure that we need to actually transform the way that the city looks, not to mention just the way that it's viewed, but there's a large infrastructure project to open up a swath within our city where there's blight, to make some transition. Having all of those things happen around 2025, 2026 would be fantastic. So I was really pleased to hear that the projects that we're looking at with New CC, as well as the work that the water department is doing, will be in concert with the Joe Louis Greenway. The work of ordinances. From my first day in office, my goal was to make sure that the members of this council have the tools that they need. Who cares what tools I had at my disposal? Those tools were simple. My goal was to make sure that we had parliamentary support, which we don't, but also that the members had access to internet. I made a request for every member of the city council to have an internet device that is fully free functioning. They can use it anywhere. It's a mobile hotspot, so that we have the capacity to dig down into the information that's needed for the meetings. Nobody should show up here unprepared. None of us should show up here unprepared. So the tools that we need to have a meeting that function like the one that we had tonight have always been there. Maybe today was just about the will to get it done. But we should be able to go through these packets, take care of the things that we need to prior to the meeting, show up here with questions or reach out to the department heads that can answer those questions and get this stuff done. We had more citizens participation. Y'all got 3 minutes tonight. I didn't say nothing. It was 3 minutes that people got to stand up at the podium. I wanted to leave that space because we had more room in the meeting time so that we could address those things. If we get our meetings tighter, we have more opportunities for citizens to talk. We don't have town halls. If we didn't invite the mayor to speak to us every 2 weeks, we wouldn't have an opportunity to hear her voice about the work that she's doing. So those things are promising. And I'm saying all of this specifically to the request that was made to us from the community to get our poop in a group, as my mama used to say. Whether we like it or not, based on the chaos that we had in the social media realm, our community is being discussed, like Dalton, like Fulton County, whether you know it or not. There are people in the far corners of the United States who know all 5 of our names. They're Googling our names. I've had more hits on my LinkedIn profile in the last month than I've ever had because people want to know who we are. They want to know who you are, where you work, where you from, who your mama and them. They want to know all of those things. So we can no longer pretend as if the activities that take place in this room are somehow in a, in a black hole. This is a public place. This is the most valuable land inside the city of Detroit. So I thank my colleagues for getting our business done. I thank the citizens for appearing. I thank our department heads, our police chief, our mayor, our business administrator for helping us hold this thing together. It's a municipal nonprofit, baby. Everybody like hot dogs, but nobody like to see the way that they're made. Making sausages is like government. Everything goes in there. Having concluded all business related to the city of Highland Park. The Wayne County. Oh, yeah. I want to take an opportunity to thank the Wayne County Treasurer for coming to talk to the city of Highland Park. You are on tape, so when folks go back to watch it, you will be featured. And we thank you for joining us here. Having concluded all.
Just one thing, we had such a wonderful night. And I would like to end on a great night. Maybe you could call the motion for adjournment as opposed to just adjourning. It's actually a violation of the Open Meetings Act.
It's not a violation, it's in Robert's rule, but I will go with you. The chair would entertain a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Take care, Mr. President. Great meeting.